Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Sabbath class, the 8th of January, 2022. Like I was saying last night, I was going to be dealing with prophecies, and Friday night, this morning, this evening Sabbath class, I'll be dealing with beware of some prophecies right here. I'm asking everybody to like and share, subscribe to Prophets of Awakening channel. Hit the notification button if you can. This is a non-Messianic channel dealing with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the 25 books of the Old Testament. That was given to Moses at Mount Sinai by the Lord of Hosts. So shalom and welcome everyone to Prophets of Awakening channel. We're going to do our moment of silence, prayer, and then we're going to do a little song, and then go into current event. Okay? Oh Lord, we come before thee at this time. We have set this time apart at the end of the Sabbath day that you have given unto us for rest. We are thankful for your knowledge and the understanding that you have given us up to this point. We seek thy face on the Sabbath, that you shower us with peace and enlightenment and a sense of togetherness. Oh Lord, we see thy hand in the affairs of the world, and we don't understand that what you have spoken in the past surely come to pass. Turn not thy face from us, but hearken unto our displete. Hearken, O Lord, and do all praises unto you. Okay? These are Psalms. I'm going to read Psalm 122. It's a song of the degrees of David. It's a prayer for the peace of Jerusalem. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet shall stand within thy gates of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together. Whether the tribes go up, the tribe of the Lord, unto the testimony of Israel, to give thanks unto the Lord, of the name of the Lord. For there are set thrones of judgment, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They shall prosper that love thee. Peace be within thy walls, and prosperity within thy palaces. My brethren and companions say, I will now say, peace be within thee, because of the house of the Lord our God. I will seek thy good. Okay, that was Psalms 122. Which, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Okay, any comment? Okay. Got any current events? Anybody got any current events somebody want to bring up? Okay, put this right here.
So Joe Biden was talking, and he was saying he was expecting a good report for December as far as jobs were concerned. Well, that didn't happen, y'all. In the entire nation, they only added 199,000 jobs. So, of course, December was disappointing, but I don't know why they thought it was going to be good. You know, we know what happened with Oh My Crayon. We saw all of the airport cancellations, and a lot of those cancellations was because they didn't have enough staff. Their staff was sick. And some of these businesses had to shorten their hours because employees were sick. Never mind the shortages, y'all. Remember all the shortages? that they have going on and the inflation, I don't know. I never believed it was going to be a good jobs report for December, but apparently Joe Biden did. Now, if you reflect back to 2019, it would be good in December because you would have all of the part-time and full-time people out here working. On top of that, the seasonal jobs. So normally the place would be popping, right? Not anymore. Those days are gone for good. So this is the Hill. Economy adds disappointing 199,000 jobs in December. And I guess they were just looking for something better. So this data was released, and according to the data from the Labor Department, unemployment fell 3.9, but we know they don't count the people that are no longer collecting. So it always looked low, but actually it's really not really a factual number. Okay, in November it was at 4.2. Economists expect the U.S. to have added, they were looking for 420,000 jobs, and they only got 199,000. Woo, far short. That is a, yeah, you fell very short. So after several weeks of low unemployment claims and signs of a strengthening private sector payroll, despite the lackluster December, which they should have expected with everything going on out here. Remember, schools around the country were closing ahead of winter break. I mean, it was a lot of indicators right there that could have told you there were problems. Despite the lackluster December job gain, the report also shows a growing competition for solely needed workers as employers struggle to keep up with the recovering economy. This economy ain't recovering. Oh, these people are so delusional. How are you recovering? And you can pick up any story online, and you see businesses closing. Even more stories came out on businesses closing, and schools that are not going to open their doors until sometime towards mid or the end of January. And they really are saying they are going to just do a wait and see. They're not even sure they're going to be able to open the doors to many of these schools on a projected date they have in January. The jobless rate dropped to its lowest since March of 2019 as the labor force participation held firm, and average hourly earnings were up 4.6% on the year last month. So the Labor Department is also revised October and November job gains. Then they said combined they had 141,000 jobs. So December job report likely reflects little of Omicron's full impact on the economy. And two surveys conducted by the Labor Department to compile the employment figures occurred the week of December 12th, before the cases began spiking in major U.S. cities.
Okay.
Several industries under pressure by the pandemic saw little to no job growth in December, a troubling sign. Yes, it is a troubling sign.
Okay. Anybody got any comments on that? Like I said, it's all the indicators there. It's a matter of time. Got another variant out there. I'm gonna play this right quick. Says new variant B1640.2 detected in France study. Okay, it says new variant has been discovered in southern France, bringing in a small outbreak, according to the new study. The variant tentatively identified as B1640.0.2, according to the recent studies backed by the French government. Whereas the peer review is believed to be Cameroonian in origin and have so far okay, says Cameroonian in origin and have so far spread to 12 patients in southern France. This new variant seems to have 46 new mutations as well as 37 deletions. Okay, this new variant have cropped up repeatedly over the past years, which will change how the virus spreads as well as its legality. However, only a few newly discovered variants are eventually found to be more dangerous, either with higher mortality rate or would be more transmittable. Whether this new possible variant is just as bad will only be determined as they could gain further understanding of how it works. Okay, so it ain't been that long since Omicron came on the scene, and now we already got another one. Trying right behind me. It's like there's no end to this. Any comments? Okay. All right, we'll open it up for some questions. Anybody have any questions from this morning or last night or something they came across? You want to open the floor up and talk about it for a minute or what? Okay. Let me play this right here.
In Jacob, for he is the only Elohim who knows the time of the fulfillment of all things. This is your brother El. This is one of those discussions that may bring offense to many, especially those who claim to be of the walk of truth and the quote-unquote Hebrew community. This particular discussion is not meant to bring offense. I'm not coming with this particular discussion with some resentment or bitterness against anybody or not seeking contention and debate. The reason that I want to bring forth this particular discussion is because there's many well-meaning saints of the Most High. There's many unlearned. There's many out there who are seeking the Most High, seeking the kingdom and seeking the truth. And certain things have become a stumbling block to them. Certain things have been a cause of their mind to be vexed and their spirit to be vexed. So to the point where some even fall away and lose faith. I know that the scripture says a great falling away would take place and that there are many who would turn away from the path of truth. Yet there are things that we as responsible individuals, those of us who claim to be learned in this truth, there are things that we can do to where we don't set a snare for other brothers and sisters, whether it's intentionally or intentionally. We have to begin to do, like it says in the Proverbs, to guard the doors of our mouth. We need to begin to be a people who are slow to speak, slow to wrath, quick to hear. And like the Messiah said, we need to take care how we hear. For how we hear, it will be multiplied back to us. With that being said, and in that same vein, I want to revisit and
you believe in your shot.
I want to analyze one of the main doctrines that's out there in the Hebrew community about the year 2019. I first want to say, brothers and sisters, Brother L is no prophet. Brother L does not know the Father's timetables of when he's going to do what he said he's going to do. Also, you do not know when the Father is going to do what he said he's going to do. Also, the Messiah doesn't even know when the Father's going to do what he said he's going to do. For even out of the Messiah's own mouth, he says, no man knows the day or the hour, not even the angels in heaven, not the Son of Man. All these things are of the Father. We all must humble ourselves.
Let's look at that right quick. I'm in Daniel right quick. Daniel chapter 10. He said the angels don't know, and nobody don't know, but the Creator knows. So I'm in chapter 10, verse 20. It's Gabriel talking to Daniel. He said, then said he, know thou wherefore I come unto thee, and now will I return and fight with the prince of Persia, this angel. And when I am gone forth, lo, the prince of Greece shall come. But I will show thee that which is noted in the scriptures of truth. This is a book that's in heaven. There is none that can hold with me with these things but Michael, your prince. So there go two angels right here that know. They're looking on the book. So I don't know what the hell he's talking about. That's what I mean. So we're going to keep going.
Brother L, the angels, the Messiah, you, your granddaddy, your cousin, your elder, your captain, your deacon, your general, none of us, all of us are on the same level of not knowing the day, the hour, the year. The only thing we can do is not be ignorant of the seasons. Hallelujah. The Messiah gave us wise words of advice. Endure to the end, whenever that end will be it 2050, be it 2070, be it whenever. Endure to the end. I can tell you this from scripture. There are many things that still need to happen before the consummation of all things. Many things that still need to happen. The Father is able to speed up the times, yet the scripture tells us plainly, this is the faith and the patience of the saints. The scriptures always edify patience as it pertains to talking about the times and the seasons of the fulfillment of all things. With all that said, again, this particular discussion is not to attack anybody. There's many well-meaning brothers and sisters who, like myself, are just hungering for the kingdom and await the fall of Babylon. If it was up to me, and I'm glad it's not, it would have already been fulfilled and we'd already be in the kingdom eating grapes the size of basketballs and growing our own food and building a kingdom greater than Dubai, greater than all the kingdoms of the earth that's been built ever, greater than the Ottoman Empire, greater than the Romans. We would already have got our vengeance on our enemies if it was up to Brother L, but it's not, and it's not up to you either. Which brings us right back to what the Messiah said, endure to the end. This is the faith and patience of the saints. What I want to do is go through some scriptures that would give us instruction in these times as we await the fulfillment of all things that will cause us to be wise and not unstable, and that would also cause us not to become victims of circumstance. Let's go to Acts chapter 1, verse 6 through 11, and let's see the words that was told to the disciples when they began to get caught up in the spirit of folk unto the hilltop. Nevertheless, the ark of the covenant of the Most High and Moses departed not out of the camp. Then the Amalekites came down, and the Canaanites which dwelt in that hill, and smote them and discomfited them even unto Hormah. There you see it. They got pumped up, hyped up, and turned up off that little fake halftime speech and went out there and got their eggs scrambled. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of these Negroes that's rising up in the flesh, vainly puffed up in the spirit of their mind, as the scripture said. Once again, Brother L is not saying that it will or it won't happen next year. I'm saying I don't know. I'm saying I don't want to come up snake eyes, because we know the serpent is the snake that has deceived the whole world. I don't want to throw a snake eyes and crap out depending on something that some Negro online said. Because most of these Negroes can't even keep bills paid or take care of families, but they're going to tell you when the Father's going to restore the kingdom. Okay? All I'm saying is this. We must be careful. Whenever we spread things around and get people hyped up, and then whatever we say doesn't happen, that brings sadness to the heart of sincere people. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12, hope deferred maketh the heart sick. That means whenever you hope in something, you get hyped up. People got you so amped up about what may happen, and then when it doesn't happen, like a child waiting on their father to come take them to a game or the playground, and the father never shows up. It's grown men in their 40s and 50s that still have scars in their soul of their father never showing up like he promised they would. And what a lot of y'all Negroes out there is doing, especially a lot of y'all online who don't actually study or fellowship with nobody in person, but all your fellowship comes from online, and you clicking and on all these videos, and that's where you get most of your knowledge, because you don't read, you don't fast, you don't study, you don't sharpen iron with other brothers and sisters. You're a YouTubeite, you're a Twitterite, you're a Facebookite, you're an Internetite, claiming to be an Israelite. Stop.
Okay. Any comments? Anybody got any comments on that? Like I say, you believe in the Messiah. So, I mean, what are you talking about? You know, that's where I'm at. You believe in the Messiah, so what you talking about? Okay. We ain't figured that out. Nobody don't have no comments. Let me go into this other video. This is another channel I found that was, I thought was pretty awesome. It's called the Mirage Network, and I'm just gonna let it play because the dude putting out some serious information, some end time information, and we're gonna go from there. It's from Israel to West Africa. Here we go.
Of the Israelites was inspired by a simple search I did with my family's last name. In Portugal, about the 17th and 18th century, many persons bearing the surname of Rodriguez and Mirage were condemned to death at the stake or to lifelong imprisonment on the grounds that they were Jews and refused to convert to Christianity. I knew nothing about this growing up.
Look at the
I'm Roman
timeline.
Catholic. My
Timeline.
parents were Roman Catholics. My grandparents were Roman Catholic. None of our relatives talked about this connection to the Jews of Portugal. It's pretty exciting to me, and it was also shocking. Welcome to the Mirage Network. I am Unapologetic Rob. I have a guest here that is going to shed some light on this very topic. I'd like to welcome Dr. Michael Hines.
Thank you, Rob, for this opportunity to be a part of the program. Before I begin, I'd like to give thanks to my elder Shadrach, who is the founder and master teacher of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries of Toronto, Canada. This is where I got my my education, my enlightenment, this is where I was able to tell the difference between education and speculation. And this is what I would like to share with you today, an opportunity to present a new way of thinking that would enhance the educational process of all individuals.
My very first question is the million-dollar question for me, is what are the Jews doing in Portugal?
You know what? That's a $10 million question for me, too. The essence of this question has to do with the fact that you use the term Jews. And I always say that if you show me a person who say that they are a Jew or a Reubenite, a Benjamite, or a Levite, in today's world, I will show you a person that is not telling the truth. Because no one knows from which tribe they came. If the person has said Israel or Israelite, then that puts an entirely different perspective on the matter. The reason being, we have been enslaved. And when I say we, I'm talking about the Israelite nation. We have been enslaved for 400 years. That's a long time. Not one drop of record. No records were kept. So who then can say with any degree of certainty which tribe they're from? This is why we are more general in the statement, and we say Israel or Israelites. Now, to answer your question, Portugal used to be a kingdom of Iberia, and so was Spain, what is now called Spain. They probably have another name for it. But this was one of the countries, if you will, as a matter of fact, under the name of Iberia, when it used to be one, that our Israelite forefathers settled about the year 711. So I can imagine they came from Timbuktu to Cordoba and elsewhere in Spain, and they were there for several years, from 711 to about 1500. So I can imagine then that yes, they would be Israelites in Spain and in Portugal and elsewhere in the Mediterranean.
Now, you said about slavery. The people you're talking about, the Israelites, are they different from the people in Jerusalem today?
The answer to that question would be yes. And to give you the proper details, I would have to go to the scriptures to show the evidence. And in this setting, we are not going to go to the scriptures. We are going to stay within the framework of history and culture. However, having said that, the entire comprehensive view of this subject matter is spiritual. And this has to be understood, but we are not using the scriptures to bring the point across, because then people get a little bit confused.
Now, just to clear it up a little bit for myself, are you saying that the children of slavery are descendants of the Israelites?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And we could prove that at least a dozen different ways.
Where would you like to start?
Well, I mean, if you want to start with Portugal, and I think you mentioned some very interesting subject matter there. The point that your ancestors were having such a difficult time, just like my ancestors, because we are connected as the same family. We may not look alike, but this is part of what we are trying to establish, a new way of thinking, a thinking that allows for depth of character and not just superficial commentary. In other words, what I'm suggesting here is you cannot tell the nationality of a person by just looking at them. You have to go deeper than that. You have to understand the purpose of that individual. And in this entire framework, I'll tell you what I see. I see a king who has an objective of punishing his children for their disobedience to him, even his firstborn. And he then has set a time span for their enslavement, 400 years, even in the new Egypt that is now called the United States of America. The point is, at the time when that was done, and even at the time of Portugal, that United States did not exist. So how did these things happen? It's like a chessboard. You see pieces being put in different places to form a comprehensive unit to accomplish a specific task. Most of the activity behind the scene is spiritual, highly spiritual. But what most people understand is totally physical. So they're missing out on 67% of the background of this subject.
Now, my father's last name is Rodriguez, and my mother's last name is Larache. Like I read in the opening, they were persecuted for being Jews. Now, were they converted to being Jews, these people, my ancestors?
You know, I cannot give a definitive, correct answer to that question. But I could tell you this, the Israelites, as I said before, they settled in Iberia under an Islamic banner in the year 711 from Africa. They came all the way from Timbuktu to Iberia, and they even went further, even to Provence in France. And they were there from the 7th century, actually from the 8th century to the 15th century. That's a long time. And the length of that time could involve changes in appearance. But that's not the issue here. Yes, I could say that the Israelites of Jerusalem in the day of Moses and Paul were rich in the melanin, but there's much more to an Israelite than appearance. If the heart is not right, if the heart, and to have the heart right, the heart must be circumcised. And that individual must serve a specific God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, who created heaven and earth. If that covenant is not in place, then it doesn't matter what you look like or what you call yourself, then it nullifies everything.
Now, what started this migration?
That's the heart of the question, of the matter that we are dealing with here. It is, as I said before, a judgment call. The judge is the king of Israel. He is creator of heaven and earth. And because his firstborn, which would be the Israelites, disobeyed, he has sentenced them to 400 years of slavery as punishment. And as I said, this 400 years would have to be served in a country that will be defined as the New Egypt. And that country, as we know it today, this is going back to the days of Moses, but this country is the United States of America. And again, as I said, you know, we are limited here because we're looking at a historical perspective, but it's still within the spiritual framework. And they did not come straight from Jerusalem to Virginia. There's a lot that transpired.
Exactly.
Through the Roman Empire, through, as we said before, Iberia, through North Africa, through even West Africa before all of that. So this is where we would have to go to flush out the historical perspective in a spiritual frame.
Did this happen a little after 70 AD, that migration?
That's correct. That's when a lot of it began. And by 135 that year, the 99% of all the Israelites had already left the promised land. They were throughout, you know, Asia, Africa, and then later on into the Roman Empire, around the Mediterranean, south.
So they spent about almost 1,000 years traveling in Europe.
They spent a lot of time, and it is an amazing appreciation of the wisdom of the King of Israel, because in the process, they helped to lay the foundation for a powerful Europe. And I say that because when we look at the economy, we see a lot of our doings as Israelites. We see the same thing in Western Africa. We see the same thing in Western Asia. And wherever we go, we put our hands in that country and lifted it up. But we did not benefit from their prosperity. And that in itself should give you or give us an inkling of where we're headed. Because how is it that we lift up those that were in the garbage pail, but then they get to rule over us without our ancestors receiving any benefit from their rule.
So while the Israelites are in Europe for almost 1,000 years, they're also in Africa as well?
That is correct. They were in Africa, then they were transported from Africa to the Americas, to Virginia.
That's the Atlantic slave trade you're talking about.
The Atlantic slave trade, okay. That's correct. But the key here, because let's look at it this way. The Europeans did not have the education to know about traveling the oceans. They couldn't even run their own household. There were no colleges, no universities, nothing. These are people that were stuck in the garbage pit. So with our forefathers coming into Europe, they were lifted up because we injected a sense of appreciation, not only for what the surroundings, but also to look, because the key here is the covenant. This is the one motivational component that helped our Israelite forefathers. Because we had the covenant with the God of Israel, we were in a position, and according to the covenant, we had to teach our children. We were in a position then to be strong and confident on education. And we're not just talking about memorizing stuff. We're looking at a comprehensive perspective to know what is written, why it's written, and how to take advantage of it from different perspectives. We're looking at a holistic educational process, right? And whereas the European, even today, theirs is lateral. It goes out, but it doesn't ever, end at anything. Whereas ours continue to encircle the earth, around and around the earth. All I'm suggesting is that we got our knowledge from our Father, and we return to Him the praises and the glorification in the process. That is the cyclical matter, or the comprehensive matter I'm talking about. There is no lateral where it falls off the edge or something of that nature, or you can't tell the rest of what you're talking about, like what does it mean. So this is why I'm suggesting that there's a lot that the Europeans have learned from the Israelites.
Okay. Anybody got a comment so far? What they heard? Bring up something? Okay.
I guess I'm just curious about when he was saying you can't really tell who because I know it's a lot of people claiming to be Israelites from other nations.
Right.
And he was saying you can't really tell, I guess, by looking who Israelites are.
Right.
And I know it's two schools of thought on that because it's a lot of, that's a sensitive topic. But what do you think about that?
Well, like I said, when you go back to how He created Adam and how Adam looked at it, and so that's the plumb line right there. As I said, how He made Adam look, and He made him look that way for a reason. And so, for example, I mean, I didn't really say nothing about it, but he's not understanding the fact that there was Edomites that was in Europe, even to the day. When they going to do these aliyahs and going to get these different people from different parts of Europe. They Khazarian Jews. They ain't no Israelites. And the other video that we watched, the brother showed you where all of Judah and Benjamin and all them all was on the west coast of Africa. That's what they're not ready to divide. The Israelites is on the west coast of Africa. Those are other people that those are Edomites that was posing as Israelites. That Paul was going to Europe and all down through where Rome is and all that. And just like with America, the 13 colonies, when they brought us here, Edomites is already here, Jews. That's what George Washington was dealing with. So they responsible. They was the ones behind the 13 colonies. So, like I said, they twins. They brothers. And when one go, the other gonna show up. One of them wicked as hell, and the other one is not. And so, same in Portugal. He just showing you in Portugal. In 70 AD, uh, 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 Titus and Vespasian allowed Herod's lineage, which was Edomites, safe passage to Spain and Portugal. Well, we see that some of the Israelites is already over there. They came by way of Morocco and Timbuktu and all that. It ended up over there. So it's this Edomite element that's constantly tagging us and and watching us. And oh, he's the one who's ruling because of him watching us and keeping the narrative all confused and thrown off. It's him behind it. We the one skewing all the information and everything. And that's the nation that the Most High will have to judge in the very end. That's who America is. These Edomites. They're the ones behind America. Okay?
Yeah, and my thing is a lot of these other nationalities that are claiming to be Israelites, they don't fit the curses.
Right.
But they're saying somewhere down the line, and I was just thinking about, the Deuteronomy 23 when he says, it's just like they use the mixed multitude thing to justify them possibly being. I've just been watching a lot on that lately, and when he said that, it kind of made me think about it. But um, it's too many times written in the Bible that you know, you know, not only the no mixing of the bloodline, but the the I just lost my train of thought. Not only the mixing of the bloodline, but just when just the characteristics that you mentioned earlier. It's just it'll come back to me. I'll pipe in later. It was something I was on my mind. I
Yeah,
can't recall it, but I'll pipe back in if it comes back to me.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah, so those pertaining to what you were saying about. I mean, I keep saying that the story of Ham, Shem, and Japheth. They telling us that they are brothers, and I was looking at that the other day, and when you go back and you look at the different stories about that, and I was saying how this morning the Egyptians had come from the fallen angels. So they're Nazarene. That's who they are. So Ham ain't none of that. And then just from looking at Put and Canaan, you know what Canaan origin is. That Ham ain't none of his dad. So it go way in. And so when you start looking at that, based on what you just said about the mixed multitude, it's the Ethiopian. That's why he keep on comparing us to the Ethiopian. That's the 6 day man. The Ethiopian. He the one look like us. That's why he keep comparing him. So before we went into Egypt, uh, when those 200 angels came down in Africa, they ended up subjecting the 6 day man. Originally, he was subject to Adam's seed, to Enoch and all them. That's who they was originally subject to. But when those angels came down and and created those giants and those Nazarene, they subjected the Ethiopian unto them. And so when the Israelites came into the land, did their time there, and then they was brought out, the Lord of hosts came and delivered them out of there. When they came out, then some of the Ethiopian people came with them because they was originally under them from the beginning. And that was the opportunity to leave and come out. And so you say, what are you talking about? Look at the map. Look at the families. Look at the Hamites, and look at the Put, and look at Canaan. They don't look like us. That's what people keep on saying. They ain't nothing. They're not none. They ain't the same artists as we are. That's why they look totally different than us. Scriptures say that the Zondervan Bible Dictionary says not the Negro. put Canaan and all them is some from another origin. The Negro ain't from that origin. You can see it, obviously, you can see it when you get them together. They ain't from the same origin. Anybody else got any comments? Okay.
As Black people. So with that generalization and having authority over us then and even today, they were able to enforce that. And even you can pick a textbook today and you will see Black people, white people. How are you going to determine the nature or the identity of an individual by just looking at them? You know, it's impossible. Yes, I could say with a great deal of confidence, because I'm an Israelite, that my father created man from the soil. And for people that may think that I'm joking, go to your local store and ask for a bag of humus. You know, go to Home Depot or wherever and get a bag of humus. You will be given the blackest soil that you've ever seen. It is also some of the richest soil that you would ever utilize. So there seems to be then, if you look at the word human, there is that you in there, right? It's a very, very, very wise and clever effort. But the thing here is, yes, the first man and woman, they look like me. Not a problem. But that happened with Shem. These are the children of Noah, Ham, and Japheth. All the children of Noah.
That's
so
true.
That's what Noah looked like as well.
J-Fair White.
But that is not the issue. The issue is there's more to it than that. And if you just write people off because they have a different appearance, then you're limiting yourself because you're demonstrating your level of ignorance that it is extremely high. It is not something that is strictly, you know, for Europeans. When I grew up, most of Eastern Europe was Islamic. As Islamic today as Iraq or Iran or Saudi Arabia or anywhere, right? But these people didn't look like me or look like the Muslims in those regions, you see? And there was a time when the Vatican had issues with the Templars, who were a secret Masonic structure, because they were, let's say, in bed with the Muslims and not with the Christians. This is the Vatican. What I'm trying to emphasize is the spiritual component that everybody overlooks. It doesn't matter what you call yourself or how you name yourself. It's who you're serving. See what I'm saying? And this is what everybody, they seem to forget, that there's a battle raging, but the battle is within. And we have to look carefully at our behavioral patterns in order to make a measure of correction. Because if you don't see that in order to punch somebody, you have to hurt yourself. You have to feel inferior to that person. To call somebody names, you're going to get angry. What's causing you to be angry? Is that an evil spirit that is possessing your being and transmitting to your brain, and your brain transmitting to your fist, and when you're pulling a gun or whatever? These are issues that we have to start to think about.
You know, it's funny because the Europeans, they could have just hopped right over the Mediterranean Sea to Africa and enslave anybody they wanted. But yet they chose to travel all the way around the west coast of Africa.
Right. So it tells me that they're not in control. It tells me that they were deceived before they were able to come out and deceive other people. It tells me that they had to, somebody or something had to appeal to their personal or individual or collective vanity to let them feel important. It sounds to me like they are suffering from a mental disorder. And I'm not a doctor, at least not a medical doctor. The real doctor, as you know, is spiritual, right? And they were all Israelites. But that medical disorder calls for serious, serious treatment, because that's where schizophrenia comes in. That's where neurotic disorders come in. And you can see that by people who pretend to be more than they really are. But on the surface, most people can't see it. It is only when you stop and think about it. We had a good display yesterday in Washington, D.C. That's a whole different matter. People do not understand the environment that they are living in. All they look at is me, me, me. They never think about us.
Currently, you see a lot of Egyptian obelisks.
That's the
pyramids. They use that same old spirit of Egypt of old.
That's the key. And the European does not understand that he is deceived. He's vessel, and he's been deceived. But he benefits from that deception. So it's going to be difficult for you or I to tell him not to do what he does. And some of them are very good at it too. The key here is we don't really want to be judgmental. We just want to be aware of what's happening. And we see a lot of this going on. And we understand some of the struggles. But most importantly, we understand that there is going to be a day of judgment, or an era of judgment. Right? Everyone is going to be accountable for their behavior. And I don't know how the Creator is going to judge. All I know is he is going to judge. And if we want to know, we can look back at the ancient. Look at Babylon and what he did to that place. It's no longer. But one can say that same spirit that was there has found its way over here. Like you said, the obelisk, you can't set up an obelisk and just put it up as a symbol of nothing. With that obelisk comes the spirit of the Egyptian. When you put up the cross, comes the spirit of the Egyptian, the Babylonian. When you put the cube on your forehead, the spirit of Saturn is there, Satan. But people sometimes, they don't think about these things because the benefits are so overwhelming. What's a little spirit? When you got 10 billion in the bank, you can work it out. You see, these things are very, very, very important to be aware of. You or I, we don't have to try to deter that type of behavior. We just have to shut it out from the contents of our material, from our homes, for example, and teach our children. Because today, all the children, even our children, are suspect. When they're out there in the world, everything now is on your phone, right? You don't have to go to the temple anymore, right? It's right there. It's in the music you listen to. And the people that are making the music they look like me, they're not aware. Because sometimes they're told what to say, how to do it. And if you look at this repetition, there's a lot to be said for that. Because when these things are repeated over and over and over, they're not the lyrics of the days of old, when they had a storyline. There's just repetition. They go right into your mental faculties, into your spiritual zone. Then you have no control.
Okay. So that was from Israel to the West Africa, the Israelite migration. That is Dr. Michael Hines. His channel is the Marriage Network, in case you want to check it out. MMIRAGE. Anybody got any comments on what was said or anything they want to talk about? Shine a light on?
The video from this morning, what channel was that? Because that I was trying to watch it again and it's not up. So what channel was that from this morning? Because I want to get the name of that book the guy was mentioning.
Okay, let me see. Okay. I don't see the papers. What I'm dealing with.
Was that the same guy from Friday night or no?
Oh yeah, it was the same guy. He was let me go right here.
Okay.
Right here. So the name of the video was Kingdom of Judah, West Africa, and the Black Portuguese Jew.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else got any comments on anything before we go? They want to bring up something? Okay. Okay. So we're going to be reconnecting again on Tuesday at 8 o'clock for the men's line. Anybody have any comments, anything before we go? Okay, shalom. I'll see everybody on Tuesday at 8 o'clock.